Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Julie Mann. I'm also known as the Habit Fixer. And I love working with women over 50 who want to enjoy amazing health and well-being and self-confidence. And I do it with an EFT, can't get my words out. EFT, which is emotional freedom technique, a simple tapping technique, and nutrition, skincare, and digital products. Today, I'm joined by the lovely Emma Jenkins. And if you don't know her already, she is a conflict coach, a disc practitioner, and a communication skills trainer. So I'm really excited to hear what she's got to say. And this morning, Emma's going to be talking about the habits of a peacemaker. So I'm going to hand straight over to you, Emma.
Thank you for having me. So I love talking about this because when I first kind of trained as a workplace mediator and I got into conflict coaching and all of that, I think there was some themes that kept cropping up. And when I first got into the whole mediation it was one of those things that you kind of start off thinking you want to try and prevent conflict and you want people to have like really peaceful lives. But then your understanding of what a peaceful relationship actually is shifts. And the more you help with conflict resolution, you realize that actually preventing conflict is often what's caused the conflict in the first place. It's these habits where people are often, and there are different ends of the scale. So there are sometimes you come across people that perhaps don't realize the impact of their behavior. They don't realize how they're coming across, or they don't care so much about the impact of their behavior. But you also have those people who perhaps have grown up, they've been labeled as a peacekeeper. And so they're trying to keep the peace, status quo. If it's not worth mentioning, don't mention it. They don't want to upset the apple cart. All of these, metaphors come into mind. And actually what I notice more and more, and I've been mediating now, I trained almost 8 years ago. And so for me, peacemaking is the aim to kind of strive for in order to have peaceful relationships. And so that is not a kind of sitting back and letting things happen. It's a proactive state. And so these habits that I wanted to talk about today are things that are helpful to build into your mindset when you're dealing with other people, because there will always be situations where you come across someone who has a different perspective than you, a different way of communicating than you, and perhaps they have a certain idea on what should happen and how people should behave. And so conflict comes out of that, and conflict doesn't always have to be a negative thing. So you can be a peacemaker even when at first there's some friction or some tension between you and someone else. So there were 5 habits that really kind of came to mind that I thought summed up what it is to really try and embed the habits of a peacemaker into your life. So the first one is recognizing when an issue requires just your contribution to it, just action from you, or whether it requires contribution from someone else. Because sometimes we get into a situation and we look to the other person to solve the whole situation for the two of us. But actually, there may be some elements of responsibility, or actually, because of your experience, in life, in relationships, there may be certain things that you're bringing to the relationship, which are adding to the tension or adding to the conflict, that you may need to start with yourself. What am I bringing to this? And is it something that you find an irritation? Or is it something that the other person is doing which is causing harm? Because if it's irritation, then there's a kind of flip thing of going, well, what if they felt the same way about something you were doing? Would you want them to want to try and change you because of it being a minor irritation, rather than it causing harm or making a situation difficult? So that's the first thing, recognizing when it involves just you or when you actually need to bring the other person into the resolution part of the situation. The second habit is to acknowledge that valuing a relationship involves a number of things. So yes, grace, so letting things slide sometimes, grace is a very important part of valuing a relationship, because you're acknowledging that people are imperfect, including yourself, and that sometimes there is no benefit to bringing something up. Sometimes we just vent because we're frustrated, but actually the venting at someone is rarely a cause for peace. So recognizing that valuing a relationship involves grace, yes, but it also involves collaboration. And that collaboration is working through the good things in a relationship, but also the challenges as well. So that collaborative part of a good, healthy relationship often involves a moment of looking at something which isn't joyful and positive, and something which you kind of go, oh, I really don't want to address this. But if you're thinking about the short-term and the long-term benefits, if you don't address something, things will not change. So addressing something in a way that is a collaborative, and that's why I use the word collaborative rather than challenging someone or confronting someone, because that brings this kind of like strong, not kind of we're working together energy to the situation. But if you're working together, then you often will approach things from a very different way, and more likely you're going to get peace out of it. And part of that also in valuing a relationship is that truth within a relationship is really healthy, because when we start to think that people aren't telling us the full truth, then we stop believing what they're saying, even the good things. If they start complimenting us, but there's already crept in this kind of mistrust about them telling us the full truth, then that can kind of seed a negative thing even into the good stuff that's being said or done around you, because you start to not know what's true, what's not true. So having a kind of loving, kind, compassionate truth within a relationship, personal or working relationship, can really value that relationship and create more long-term peace. So that's acknowledging that valuing a relationship is grace, collaboration, and truth. The third thing is trusting that people can handle the truth. There's that famous quote from a film that I love, but you can't handle the truth. Most people find it difficult at first and uncomfortable to hear something which is not always positive, but they can handle it. Good relationships, people that you want to nurture a relationship with, working or personal, can handle the truth. So actually, by withholding truth from them, you could be doing them a disservice and underestimating what they can handle. So believing that makes you more likely to bring truth to the table. The fourth thing is checking for assumptions or things which might inaccurately be influencing your perception of the other person or the situation. So where's the missing information? Are you thinking that this judgment that you've made, we all make judgments, we all make assumptions, it's a natural part of like assessing our environment, assessing what's safe, who is safe. We do that a lot. So it's just making sure that when we've done that assessment, we're checking ourselves, is this true or just something that I've picked up on that I think may be true? Where's the missing information? And what am I allowing to influence my perception? Did I wake up in a grumpy mood this morning? Like so many people will have a negative interaction with another person based on nothing to do with that other person. So just kind of checking what you're bringing to the table. And finally, again, with that, just checking what's going on inside, being responsible and accountable for your actions. Because when you're a peacemaker, you're not just waiting for someone else to do their part and apologize if they've done something or change an action which is causing harm, but also you're more likely to get that back if you've taken some steps to notice when perhaps your behaviors or your actions are causing harm, even with the best of intentions. I mediate for people who are lovely and there's just some stuff that's got in the way. So it's thinking about that as well, being responsible and accountable for your actions, even if the intent's for good, regardless of what others do, not making it a transactional thing. You apologize, I apologize, regardless of what other people do, being accountable for yourself. So just to run through the 5 things again, because I covered quite a few things there. Firstly, recognizing who needs to be involved in the resolution of a situation. Is it just you? Do you need other people to be part of it? Secondly, acknowledging that valuing a relationship involves grace, collaboration, and truth. Thirdly, trusting that people can handle the truth. Fourthly, checking yourself for any assumptions or any other influences that may be affecting how you perceive a situation. And fifthly, being responsible and accountable regardless of what other people do.
Oh my goodness, Emma, there was just so much in what you've said. I mean, I have to go back and listen to it. But I think, in essence, conflict happens in life, doesn't it? And we can't avoid it. And avoiding it will cause pain to the person avoiding it eventually anyway.
Yeah.
So I love what you said about taking responsibility and actually seeing the whole thing with kindness and having grace. I think that is just such a powerful thing to do. So thank you ever so much for sharing your wisdom. And I will obviously put all your links below. So everyone, if you're watching, just check out Emma's links. My links will be there too. If you've got any questions, ping her an email and ask for a question. So thank you ever so much, Emma. And thank you everyone else for watching.
You're welcome.